There comes a time in a girl's life when she becomes a woman, and that beautiful moment is not what Ginger Snaps is about. At least, not the beautiful part of the girl's transformation into an adult as she goes through adolescence. Ginger Snaps is a top-rated Canadian horror film filled with angst, gore, thrills, and werewolves. But this is not your ordinary werewolf horror film, as you will see.
In a way, it is a coming-of-age story, as Ginger, the protagonist of the story, undergoes the painful and horrifying transformation of being a female werewolf. What makes it worth studying is the depth and powerful symbolism the film claws into, one of the most important being gender. Lycanthropy, originally used in literature and cinema as a metaphor for male puberty, was used as a metaphor for female puberty, in that the protagonists and werewolves were female. The result is that females are given someone to identify with.
Linda Williams says that generally, in terms of a dominant male look, he exists only to be looked at. She goes on saying that the woman's gaze is punished, in other words, by narrative processes that transform curiosity and desire into masochistic fantasy.
The attention that Ginger receives after hitting puberty parodies the male gaze. We see that Ginger's victimization of her male suitors reverses the punishment, in that male suitors are the subject of the masochistic fantasy. Linda says clearly the monster's power is one of sexual difference from the normal male, a biological freak with impossible and threatening appetites that suggest a frightening potency precisely where the normal male would perceive a lack.
She also adds that the female look, a look given preeminent position in the horror film, shares the male fear of the monster's freakishness, but also recognizes the sense in which this freakishness is similar to her own difference. In Ginger Snaps, Linda's statement that clearly the monster's power is one of sexual difference from the normal male is emphasized in that the monster and woman are one, resulting in women having no other option but to identify with it, and the male gaze ends up isolated, apparent for all to see. She concludes by saying that the power and potency of the monster body in many classic horror films should not be interpreted as an eruption of the normally repressed animal sexuality of the civilized male, but as the feared power and potency of a different kind of sexuality, the monster as double for the women. In Ginger Snaps, we see that the feared power and potency of a different kind of sexuality, the monster as double for the women, is given new meaning in the monster, no longer being double for woman, but actually represented as the woman. Mary Shelley's Production and Reproduction says that the monster's eventual life of violence and revenge is the direct product of her social circumstances.
In line with this, Barbara Creed also talks about the monstrous feminine being in the context of a patriarchal and phallocentric society. Ginger Snaps takes us into a world where females lead and males merely support them.
However, these authorities on femininity, who young women are supposed to turn to for advice, are criticized for the lack of empathy during the horror-filled time of adolescence, which influences Ginger's behavior too. According to Poulin, Ginger Snaps can be read as subversive not just in gender but in terms of intertextual reference. The familiarity and rejection of Hollywood cliches by the characters encourages the viewer to look not only at the surface but the subtext as well. We can see Andrew Tudor's idea of the peculiar pleasures of the horror genre with this sister's fascination with death as well as the bloody and gory scenes in the form of mutilation and Ginger's less than normal menstruation. Andrew Tudor says the gratification of the contemporary horror film is based upon tension, fear, anxiety, sadism, and masochism. The pleasure of the text is, in fact, getting the shit scared out of you and loving it, an exchange mediated by adrenaline. The corpses, carnage, menstruation, and mutilation are all prime examples of disturbances in identity and order in today's society. The aforementioned reveals the concept of the abject in film. In Ginger Snaps, the sisters themselves try to stay away from the horror. They become society's objections because of their peculiar interests. Menstruation and the corpses are also objections. So what makes Ginger Snaps worthy of the academe? It's all of these elements working together with the subversion of gender, society, and politics that make it a thrilling watch for a horror